Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Last Things Last podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Myers, joined by my co-host, MJ Escoda and Justin Mandia. Say hi to the folks, everybody.
Just gonna wave.
Stop looking at me, MJ.
All right, well, there's that. So starting off on a bit of a somber note, of course, the passing of legendary Kobe Bryant and 8 other people in a helicopter crash in California. Really, really, really awful day. And just one of those moments where you're like, yeah, this is just kind of a bad dream. Our buddy broke it to us in our group chat and said, TMZ is reporting Kobe Bryant's dead. It's like, okay, well, TMZ is reporting, so it's a 50-50 shot, And then as the other groups just started picking it up, it was like, this is a real thing. This is something that's actually true. And then you hear about his daughter and other families and the 2 other girls, and it's just a mess all around. So, MJ, your first reactions when you heard the news?
It was horrible, man. Like I said, I got a text from someone that said it happened, and I was like, it's a person that I generally don't believe anything they say. I was like, you're full of it. And then, dude, it's like you flip to Fox, CNN, ABC. It was like, well, this is, and then like I said, what's scary with stuff like that, man, and like the reports start to come out. Some are right, some are wrong. Like originally it was 5 people and it was 9 people.
Someone said Rick Fox was on the helicopter.
It was, man. I hate when the news does that. Like, just
social media can screw it up.
Let it play out. Like, don't. I love when they say, here's what we know, not from confirmed by our sources, but what's being. Then don't say it. Like, just stop.
Like his wife and daughters had to find out by TMZ. Like,
no, it's and then they're plastering the stuff all over the news, and they keep showing the crash site, and like, I know it's a story. It is,
right.
And they're using it, but at some point, man, there's got to be a line drawn, especially with the people that were on the plane. I mean, you're looking at 2 little girls that were going to a basketball game along with, the one lady that was killed has three children. I mean,
there was a set of parents, and now there are kids that don't have their parents anymore.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible, man. And it's just one of those things. I mean, people have been saying it really well, is that you didn't think it could happen.
Yeah.
If there's one guy on the planet you pick,
it's a little invincible.
It wasn't him. And it was put well the other day when you look at icons like that, because that's what he was, especially in Los Angeles, across basketball.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of the icons that when they do die, there's been some form of, basically tearing themselves down, whether it's drugs, it's alcohol, right. It's, the lifestyle they live. This is a guy that was in peak health, mentally, physically, doing everything.
Mentality.
Right. Oh, dude, crushing life. Honestly, like, look, he's one of the only guys I've ever seen leave a sport and be like, I'm ready. I'm
and
ready.
He did more. What award did he win? For
an Academy Award.
Academy Award, yeah.
It's what blows my mind is like he dedicates 25, 28 years to basketball. If you think before the NBA, at his craft, and then he immediately comes out, wins an award that some actors and actresses strive for their entire life. I mean, you do realize him and Leo Cap have the exact same amount of Academy Awards. Like, just put that into perspective. That's how good this guy was at everything.
Yeah,
so
it was love him or hate him. Like if you're a Laker fan, you loved him. If you weren't, you hated him, but you always respected him. You respected him.
Kevin, I despised him when he was on the basketball
Absolutely.
Floor.
But it was amazing to watch.
Oh, you could just his mentality, the stories you hear about him in practice, like playing guys to 100, elbowing people, like take it seriously. And he did that with everything, and I thought
my favorite story that I heard, and then we'll get to you, Justin, was apparently he had given out his brand new shoes to the entire Lakers. And then after a game the one day when they got blown out, he took all their sneakers and said, "You guys are too soft. You don't deserve my shoes." I was like, that's awesome. That is such a great.
Swaggy P broke his thumb and Kobe didn't believe him and kept like whipping balls at him during practice, and then found out it happened. And he showed up to the hospital. He's like, "Hey man, I'm here."
My bad. My bad. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's you hear nothing. Like anyone that's talked about him, anyone that has an actual story from him, there's nothing bad that was said. And like I said, it's just a shame because I feel like he was just hitting his, crushing the second half of life.
Justin, you put a podcast up yesterday. If you guys didn't hear it, Justin did a whole solo podcast on Kobe. But your thoughts on when you heard?
Yeah, so for me, I was at my parents' house, and Lisa, there were a couple of friends there too. But Lisa was on her phone, she like, because it like buzzed with a Google alert, and she was like, did like, because she just always assumes that I know things about the sports
Right,
world.
right.
So she just assumed that I hadn't told her about this, and she was like, "Oh, did Kobe die?" And I thought that she must have read that he was passed by LeBron, because it happened the night before LeBron
Right,
passed.
right. Yeah.
And I was like, no, he didn't pass away. Like, he was passed in points by LeBron, like almost annoyed at her. I'm like,
Right.
no, he didn't die, you idiot. Like, read the thing. It's clearly that LeBron passed him in points. She's like, it literally says died though, so I don't know what to tell. Like, was like frustrated. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I'm not dealing with this. And then my phone starts going off, so I look at it and I was like, please no. But along with what MJ was saying, as far as the news things go, it's bad when TMZ is the most reputable source that you can get. And like when the main news outlets are just throwing out like the whole family was on the plane and or was on the helicopter, and there were 4 people, and there were 3 people, then there were 5 people, then there were like it was
9. Then there's 9 at the end of it.
Yeah. So I mean, once I saw, I think the news has to stop doing this. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but like the news has to stop showing like scenes of these things. Like it's just if his family was like around a TV, maybe, I mean, I'm sure that they had already heard. Because from what I understand, the Lakers front office was notified like 25 minutes before the actual like story got out. So they were already,
because I heard that like when the sheriff was talking about it, I thought he was saying that they didn't even know who was on it before TMZ did.
Oh, see, that's weird. I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. I did hear though that the Lakers like front office had been like on their way to Orange County to Kobe's house already, like to like before the even like anything broke in the news or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's just it's kind of gross. Like when I saw that on TV, I'm like, all right, like like when it switched from the Pro Bowl to that, I was like, turn it off. Like, geez. And then came home, and I was thinking about trying to watch coverage, but I mean, I won't go through the whole thing because it was like a 20-minute solo podcast. So if you're interested, check it out. But I guess kind of just the main thing for me was that I think to a lot of people, and I think the reason that there is such a transcendence and kind of a thing that's bringing everyone together about Kobe specifically is a lot of guys I feel like are kind of your heroes athletically. Like everyone has their person in each sport they like, that there's like, oh, like I really look up to them like athletically. But I think that as Kobe got more mature and like later into his career, he started to focus a lot more on just the motivation of like whatever you do it well. Like I was listening to, he had a bunch of documentaries out. He had that Muse that like we talked about, he won an Academy Award for.
Yeah.
That was basically just all he preached was the hard work. And that, the one thing that sticks with me was one interview that I read or heard from him where he was saying that a lot of guys, wake up and they wake up at 9 o'clock and they get their breakfast, they get their shots in at 11, go for, ice bath, come back at 1. And he was like naming, they may do 3 practices a day. And he's like, but I wake up at 5:30 and I do all that same stuff, but now I have an extra hour and a half, 2 hours of practice a day. Now do that 5 days a week. Now do that 365 days a year. Right. Now do that yearly. Now do that every 10 years. How much more, practice, how much better have I gotten than the other person? And the fact that like that interview is happening in 2014 and he's towards the end of his career, he doesn't have to work that hard anymore. He's done everything he can do in the NBA, yet he still had that mentality about everything that he did, and then carrying that over to being successful in another avenue that has nothing to do with sports. I think kind of just to summarize it all, I guess, I think the reason that everyone is so kind of heartbroken about this is that he was a young guy that had his whole life ahead of him. And he was someone that I know I personally look to, wasn't the biggest fan while he was playing, but personally looked to him as someone that was motivating. And when I didn't feel like I was putting as much effort forth in things that I was interested in, it was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed when I would watch some of his, his interviews, where someone that successful was working that much harder than I am, and I was doing nothing. You know, like
Right.
I'm not successful compared to what he is, like, at all. And if he was working that hard while having it all,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I think that's why I think a lot of people are really taking it hard, because he wasn't just like a hero athletically. I think to a lot of people he was just a hero, like, overall. And when you watch those, you know, I think I said it during the solo cast, when you watch those superhero movies, you know, like the superhero dies sometimes, but there's always that weird thing of like, oh, they might come back, and there's like that weird kind of ending where you're like, oh, are they actually dead or are they not? And like, this is real life, and like real life superheroes just straight up don't come back. And I think that's where we're all kind of at right now.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like you said, it's almost like you're waiting to wake up from a nightmare. But you know, there's been some really touching tributes that have gone around. If you want to check those out, Shaq just gave a really kind of a heartbreaking one on TNT. But yeah, it's going to be tough for a while just to get over this for not just the basketball world, but the sports world in general. So,
question for you guys: has it been weird? Like, I feel like Super Bowl week leading up to the Super Bowl, it's like 100% football centric.
Yeah.
And I literally was driving into work today and I was like, oh crap. Like Lisa left me a note and was like, oh, what are we doing for like Super Bowl on Sunday? And I was like, oh my God, that's this Sunday.
Yeah, that's Sunday. Yeah.
Dude,
like,
I haven't heard or watched anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like media day going on and stuff. I couldn't tell you what happened. Like,
yeah. I have no idea.
The only thing I know is that Andy Reid showed up in a snazzy shirt. That's the only thing I can tell you about the Super Bowl.
I didn't even know that.
Oh.
Well, we'll be getting into that for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, rest in peace, Kobe, and everybody else on that helicopter. And we'll just have to keep getting through it. So moving over into baseball, the Pittsburgh Pirates 2020 payroll, they just got rid of Starling Marte, sent him to the Diamondbacks. That leaves this major league franchise at a total payroll of $43 million. $43 million. In case you were wondering, that's 80% of what Garrett Cole is getting this year. Like, what? So here's my question. Is this a thing where the MLB needs to step in and be like, look, you're not putting a product on the field that's even going to be competitive. You're going to lose your fans. That town loves baseball. They love going to Pirates games. Actually, if you've never been, it's one of the best baseball parks ever. It's such a nice place.
Prettiest park I've ever been in.
It's so great. And I mean, and also to put it in perspective as well, the Pirates payroll in 2006, 14 years ago, was $43 million. What? So for me, I feel bad for this fan base. They've suffered enough. They maybe 6-7 years ago, they had some playoff runs, but nothing really came of it. And they just kind of give up. They don't really push for it. So, MJ, what do you?
I'm trying to formulate a sentence. They've already given up. We're not even starting the season yet. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna lose. Like,
we're done.
It was like when we were watching the Dolphins slowly go, we're not gonna try to win. Or I mean, the Bengals,
yeah.
$43 million? Are you kidding me? I looked at their payroll the year they made the NL wild card back in 2015. It was like $150 million. Like, it shows you need to spend money to be competitive. Like,
just to even get to the wild card.
No, and I think they've been to the postseason 17 times in their their whole time.
They haven't won a World Series since the 70s.
But the thing is, like, they're worth 1.3 or $1.4 billion. Like,
they have money.
Spend money. I like that's when the MLB does need to step in and go, you're not trying, and it's blatant.
Right.
I know I got mad about load management, but this is beyond that. Like, if we could jump to baseball, you're not even willing to invest in players. And you keep getting rid of, and every time they get a good player, they dump them.
Yeah.
I've never understood that.
It's one of those things where it's like they keep trying to they feel like they're cutting their losses. And it's like, you're not cutting your losses. You're just not fielding a team.
What is it, a plan to cut losses for the next 100 years?
And Starling Marte only had, I think they only dumped 11.5 on him. That's nothing in baseball. That's nothing.
No,
11.5 is a solid player.
Along with him. So
yeah. And Starling Marte was an all-star. Like, you could have held on to him and still built.
No, and that's a shame, man, because like you said, that park is beautiful. People out there love baseball. I went to see them play there. I was out there when they were playing the Nats. And
it's such a great place.
No, and like the nicest people in the world, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, we were getting ready to buy tickets, and this guy walks up to me, my buddy, he goes, "Is it just you two?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I don't want to sell these to scalpers. I want to know who I'm sitting next to. Here's 2 tickets." And we sat next to him and his wife along the right field wall, which gave us plenty of opportunity to yell at Harper.
Yep.
And then 2 innings later, the woman behind me who was on her phone, which why would you do a sporting event, took a home run right to the face. Right to the face. I mean, it was right to the face.
My favorite are those dads that they have a kid and a beer in the one hand and they still catch the ball, and then they just turn and their wife's like, "What? Put the beer down."
My dad definitely would have dropped me.
I'm like, I got the bud. This was $14. We'll take care of you.
When your nickname's "Oops" as a 4-year-old, something's wrong.
But
Justin,
now,
what do you think?
Yeah, and I want to throw this question at you, Justin, specifically. Major League Baseball, they asked on Barstool, should MLB force teams to have a bare minimum $75 million payroll?
Yeah, so that was if you're going to have a sport that doesn't have a salary cap,
you need a minimum.
They only have a competitive luxury tax. That's it.
Yeah. Like, what is with it just doesn't make sense to me that you would have teams that can literally buy championships and also teams that can tank so horribly. Like, both are make the league inconsistent and make it like less competitive.
We're not even into spring training yet, and they've been up. Like, come on.
That's what.
While the Yankees have bought everything they need right now.
I understand too, like, going into a season and knowing that you probably aren't going to win a World Series, but when you definitely know it, you're like, oh, 100%, we're not going to even win like 60 games this year. Like, what is the point of having season tickets when you're like a season ticket holder? I can't imagine.
I mean, the one good thing is for people like us, it is cheap to go there. I remember in 2009, they were not good, and we went up to the gate.
Been not good for a while.
We bought tickets at the gate behind because they were playing the Cardinals, so we got them behind the visiting dugout, and it was like 4 rows up from the dugout. We paid $11 a seat. It was like Harrisburg Senators money.
Yeah, but the Senators actually try. Like
they do.
No, man, baseball definitely needs to step in and do something. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's so unfair to the fans, especially just like you said. People have season tickets. I want my money back.
Yeah, why would I ever?
They're so expensive.
And the thing is, if you have full season tickets, it's like, oh, I'm paying for how many games of this trash? No way.
Yeah. I mean, and dude, even out here, I can only say this because I go to Rockies games, but like they're so bad, and they're like partial season ticket deals. Like when we first moved out here, we bought a 15-game plan or whatever. The next season, it was like $100 and some more. I was like, what, why? This was affordable. Now it's like insane. Why would I do this? So it's just, and these are for teams that aren't even like that competitive right now. So I think it's a real bad thing to do to a good fan base.
One article said that they're talking about pitching and how the pitching market has jumped up so much. What you have to pay to get a decent pitcher, and like the Pirates just didn't see the value in that. I'm like, no one says you have to go out and give someone $40 million a season, but come on. Like,
I mean, there are solid pitchers out there right now that you can get for 15, 20, 25 million. You can field a decent rotation.
They could be competitive if they spent some money. Like
there's still players out. Yasiel Puig is still out there waiting to be signed. I mean, there are players out there that are waiting for teams. So yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely insane though. When Bob Nightingale tweeted that today, I was like, wait, their whole payroll?
Well, that's when you said, man, when you're talking about topics for tonight, I was like, why is this a topic? Oh my! Like, that's why this is a topic.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have much tonight, by the way. So let's get into two quarterbacks. One has called it quits. The other might. Eli Manning. We were going to talk about it last week, but we had so much stuff on the cast that we just didn't get a chance to. But Eli Manning retired officially on Friday, the first of the 04 trio to go. And I think it was the right time, guys. I really do. I think it was the perfect time for him to step out. He might have still had some stuff left in the tank, but it would have been weird to see him play in anything other than Big Blue. So,
dude, I'm so happy he did it. It's such a class move. Like, just walk away. You don't want to be a backup. Don't go try to restart your career. And this nonsense that he's not a Hall of Famer is blowing my mind.
Yeah, he's class personified, just like his brother and his dad. I mean, that whole family's they're the best. But no, I agree with you. And that was going to be the question. Is Eli Manning for sure in Canton?
I think he's a first ballot. Honestly, I think he gets in on the first ballot.
I think the only thing that keeps him off first ballot is his overall record and his stats. That's the only thing that will keep him off first ballot. Now, the 2 Super Bowl MVPs over Tom Brady obviously get you in. But his stats out of the 3 from that class alone, he was by far the worst statistically.
Yeah, but who's the third? Is that Rivers?
Rivers, yeah, Rivers been in.
Rivers should not be anywhere near a Hall of Fame.
Whoa,
he shouldn't. He's done nothing. He's never even been to a Super Bowl.
I mean, he's got some pretty amazing stats.
I think he has good regular season stats, but when you look at
his playoff record sucks.
And the amount of talent they had on those rosters when they were going 14-2 in the AFC every year and then losing in the wild card or divisional round.
Oh no, I agree.
They weren't even making AFC championship games.
Yeah, at least Dan Marino. Dan Marino is always the guy I put the focal point on if you didn't win a Super Bowl. His stats were insane, and he did have some playoff success. It wasn't like
his stats were insane during a time when throwing wasn't what it was.
Right.
It is now. I'm sorry, wasn't like it is now.
I mean, he kind of transformed the quarterback position a little bit.
He really did. No, I was looking at the list of quarterbacks in Canton, and if Jim Kelly and Joe Namath are in there, Eli Manning's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Joe Kelly obviously should have been in there 4 Super Bowl appearances.
Getting there is not the thing. You need to win it.
My thing but I like to look at stats. It's hard because I try to put them side by side.
Manning has better stats than Kelly does.
Does he?
Yes. He has way more touchdowns, way more yards.
Way more picks.
Doesn't matter. And then you look at Namath. Namath is a 500 quarterback.
That's true. Hey, Brett Favre threw over 300 interceptions. So, I mean.
Yeah. I was looking at Namath. Dude, Namath is 76 and 76 as a starter? With 4 ties?
Eli was 117 and 117.
Johnny Unitas' record was kind of cheeks to it.
Yeah, dude. Some of these quarterbacks that are in there, it's how can you not make this argument that Eli shouldn't be in there?
Yeah. No, I definitely think he should. I just think he's the worst statistically out of the 3.
Yeah. I don't know if first ballot but the thing is, it depends on what – I don't know what is the criteria of getting into
first ballot. Yeah, I have no idea.
Because for me, he would be first ballot for me because in my Hall of Fame, it would be what are people that you can't tell the NFL story without mentioning, right? And you can't tell the NFL story without mentioning Eli Manning beating the literal dynasty Patriots twice. Up until BDN, the only quarterback to be able to take down that dynasty. It doesn't.
So Rivers obviously not in, but Ben, would you put Ben as a first ballot Hall of Famer? 2-time champ with better stats. So I mean, same amount of rings and better stats. So it's
but the first Super Bowl they won wasn't because of him,
right? But he still has the ring. So I'm
not arguing the ring. We're arguing first ballot. He's a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. But first ballot, the Giants won both of those because of Eli.
Right. Now the Steelers definitely won the second one because of Ben.
Agreement. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
But
the first one.
I think both of them. I wouldn't be shocked if both of them were first ballots, and I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't. But they're both Hall of Fame.
It wouldn't be upsetting either way.
And the thing
they'll get in either way.
The other point that was made about Eli, man, for someone that represented an organization, never had any bad press, did a ton of stuff in the community. You couldn't ask for a better guy to be the face of your franchise.
Yeah. He's class personified.
And someone put it very well. When he had talent, They did stuff when they.
Yeah.
I mean, when he had the weapons, they did stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, even look at some of the weapons he had, man. Like none of those guys are Hall of Famers.
Mario Manningham.
Plexico Glass Burris.
When he shot him, that was the years when he shot himself.
Yeah, man.
Steve
That's,
Smith, not the good one.
like, look at some of the running backs he's had. I mean,
Amani Toomer.
my favorite though is Tiki Barber retires and says they'll never do anything with Eli. And the very next season, they win a Super Bowl.
And did you notice when he retired, Tiki Barber put out a really nice tweet like, "Yeah, Eli's my boy."
Yeah, man. We all heard what you said.
No, he's not.
We all heard what you said. But yeah, no, I think it's perfect time to walk away. Did it the right way, and he's again. If he's first ballot, not shocking. If he's not shocking. But
yeah,
he's
in there.
Famer. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why people argue against it with some of his stat columns, but I'm like, there's not enough negative to outweigh the immense positives that he had.
Dude, he's one of 5 quarterbacks ever to win 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and all those guys are either in or going in.
And it was against Bill Belichick. So
it was against an 18-0 Patriots team.
Yeah, might be one of the most. And you know what? The argument I like is because I think it could go either way. Is the clutch argument between him and Ben, because they've both had some insanely clutch moments in their career. Like with Eli coming back with the Tyree catch, that amazing throw, getting out of the huddle, or Ben with the tackle in the Colts game, or that
throw to Mario Manningham might be the greatest Super Bowl forever.
Like exactly,
that was the perfect,
and the one to Santonio Holmes. Yeah,
no, it's no.
So it's kind of crazy, like that. From that 04 class, we got 3 really great quarterbacks to watch.
Yeah.
Now, Phillip Rivers, where does he go? Do you think he plays for another team, or do you think he's just holding out and retiring?
No, I think he's going to play for Miami. If Miami can't work up.
What a way to end your career.
If they can't work up, or he could go to Tampa Bay. Yes, with those receivers.
Oh, that's true.
I don't think that they're willing to give up on Jameis here.
Why?
He wants $30 million a year.
Because he went 30 for 30?
Yeah, exactly, dude. He's the ultimate spend money to make money. He throws 5K a year, 30 picks, 30 touchdowns.
If you subtract the interceptions, he had the best year.
Okay, if you subtract the interceptions.
Take away about 26 interceptions. He had an MVP
I could say that
season
for so many of Ben's years. If you take away the interceptions, he's an MVP.
No, dude, I think he's going to play in Florida. I really do.
I think he's retiring.
I think he should retire, because here's the thing. He thinks, and there are a lot of people in a camp that believe he is a Hall of Famer, and whatever, there can be an argument there for that. But I think it hurts your cause if you're like the only one out of those 3 that doesn't stay with your team the rest of the way, and you finish your career with a worse team than you're coming from. Like if he goes to Miami, he's leaving a better team, not much better.
Well, no, man, and so that's why I jumped at the whole Phillip Rivers things, like not in the Hall of Fame. If you're discussing that, if Eli Manning doesn't make it, Phillip doesn't make it. I'm sorry.
Right? No. I agree.
Now the other guy, Mr. Breeze.
Drew Brees, guys. So Drew Brees is looking for. Oh.
1 sec, Justin. That water bottle is aggressive.
Dude,
took
the
up
thing
the whole
is,
screen.
it's aggressive, and like, what the heck am I supposed to do with my hands? I look like such a baby when I'm like. And then the thing is, look at this. Look how tiny the nozzle is. It's like,
dude, I have a small Under Armour water bottle that has the same cap on it, same size.
Like, what's the point of this?
And also, those break real bad, just so you know. They crack.
I don't know where I even got it. It was just in my house. I was just tired of drinking out of the out of the Fiji bottle, and I was looking around my water bottle, a Lazy Susan thing under the counter, and I was like, "What's this?"
It's a water bottle, Lazy Susan. Look at you, Hollywood.
We're just gonna power through that.
Sorry, neither of you have seen my palatial estate.
Drew Brees said that he's going to take some time to decide whether he is going to retire or come back. But at the Pro Bowl, Russell Wilson stepped out and allowed Drew Brees to come in and start the Pro Bowl. Is that a sign, boys? Do we think it's the end of one of the greatest we've seen in our generation? I think so, personally. I think it's too much. Even though their window is still wide open. wide open.
Yeah, but what do you do with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill?
You can trade Teddy
Keep paying
Bridgewater.
No, you trade Teddy Bridgewater. They didn't make the playoffs this year.
True.
He was clutch. Look at the places he won at. He went to
But
Seattle.
Taysom Hill, you got that dual threat action there.
Yeah. Okay. If Taysom Hill, if this is gonna piss some people off,
Do it.
if Tebow couldn't play in the NFL, neither can Taysom Hill. As a starting quarterback, no. And what he does now, I love what he does now. But as a starting franchise quarterback, absolutely not. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, I'm confused by that. They're saying that he's like they really think of him as a starting NFL quarterback.
No,
I'm like,
that's
wait,
not the case.
he wasn't even a
threat.
starting NFL quarterback when your starter went down. What are you talking about?
He's the dual threat option. That's it.
He literally is the same build as Tebow. He does the same things Tebow does.
He's Cordell Stewart without the arm.
No, he can whip it 60 yards downfield, but it's not
accuracy though. I mean,
it's not like Patrick Mahomes who takes one step and it's gone. Like,
right.
No,
But yeah, I think Breeze retires.
I think Breeze should go back to Miami and finish what he started there.
Miami.
Yeah, there was remember? So he went from San Diego. Did he end up playing for Miami? I know he was.
Oh, you're right. No, he didn't play a game.
I completely forgot about it. I'm like, dude,
oh my God.
Chargers, what are you talking about?
Look at you, man. I'm glad you knew that. I forgot all about that. I remember because I was like, wait, dude, he played for the Chargers. Wrong part of the country.
Yeah, dude, he cucked the Dolphins. So he's got to go back to Miami and finish what he started. You know what it could be? Drew Brees starting, Phillip Rivers backing up. You have Chargers, Drew Brees.
You know how weird that would be?
Replaced by Phillip Rivers. Now they're on the same team, splitting drives.
But can we admit that even
and then
if
they
he
draft
does come
Tua?
back,
Do you know how bad splitting drives has never worked? Ask Roger Staubach.
No. Can we admit though that if he does come back due to the NFL conspiracy theory, the Saints will somehow get screwed out of the playoffs?
Dude, the refs too. I don't know what it is.
Somehow get screwed out.
I don't know what it is with them, man. They are just bad luck. Bad luck in Nolans. They need some of that go Tigers action.
Oh, dude, LSU's going to be so bad next year.
Yeah, Coach O should become the new coach of the Saints.
Now, I think you should stay LSU, but they lost everyone.
They did just get a top recruit, but let's stay on topic. So, Justin, do you think Brees retires?
I think so.
I think I'd be very
he's
sad,
done.
but I'm expecting it.
I think he was hurt this year too. Like
he's
getting up there. There's not much left for him to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he could win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the thing. The window's open.
The Saints have the talent to do it, but at the same time, I feel like if they were going to do it, they would have done it like the Eagles year, which they got screwed out of that one and probably would have beat the Eagles and won the Super Bowl, but that's fine. And then last year they had the squad to do it and didn't. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No,
like,
man,
I feel
but I don't think I think physically he could still do it.
Physically, he could probably still do it.
Didn't
I
he
just
throw
feel
for
like
70% again this year? Completion? Didn't he have 70% completion percentage
killed
again?
it this year.
Yeah,
well,
like,
I mean, he didn't play that many games, but
I still think he could do it. I think physically, I think it's just the want or drive to do it. Like you said, if we think he's done all he needs to do, then I'm okay with either way he does. I personally think I'm going to go against you too. I think he comes back, but either way, it's a win-win. Like either
he's had an amazing career. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah, no question there.
He's a no question first ballot. He's a zero question first ballot to me.
Oh yeah, he's like one of the all-time leaders in everything.
Yeah, dude, and his accuracy, I've never seen a quarterback throw that accurately. All right, so gentlemen, we gave our Super Bowl picks last week. I think we all went with the Chiefs, correct? Did we all pick Kansas City?
Justin,
I picked Kansas City.
Yeah, I picked Andy.
I would never, ever pick against Big Red.
Big Red. Dude, they are selling, by the way, and I think it has the Super Bowl logo on it, big red Hawaiian shirts for people to buy. I was like, that's fantastic. Dude, I can't wait to see all the giant men wearing those.
The womb broom is winning a Super Bowl.
Damn, cookie duster.
Okay.
Little Creole strainer.
So yeah, it's going to be a great game. But like you said, Justin, I haven't even been paying attention much to it.
Right?
I think I'm literally just going to sit down with my wife and dogs and watch the game. Like I have not put anything together.
Dude, I don't know. I've been in a sports depression, like a specific
Since
depression
Sunday,
where like
yeah.
But today I put on Food Network when I got home, was watching that, and Lisa's like, "Oh, is there anything on tonight?" And I was like,
Justin's just sitting there
don't
crying,
know.
watching the barefoot Contessa.
Yeah.
Just weeping into a bowl.
I watched the second hour of Bachelor from last
Stop.
night.
Go get. Ugh.
And then then the rest of it.
That's not a sad thing he does. That's just a normal thing.
I
just
know.
like Bachelor. Yeah.
Ugh.
Big Bachelor fan. This season's trash.
Okay, all right. So our last things last, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's have a segment called Batch Talk at the end of these things.
Justin, you want to have a Bachelor podcast?
Dude,
We'll just talk about that.
Do you watch it?
No.
Oh, dude. We could have the Bachelor minute.
Okay, so our last things last. MJ, let's start with you, buddy. What's your last
Two
things
chicks
last?
don't like each other.
He just said the Bachelor minute. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Batch man.
I think there's a extremely talented basketball player coming out of Towson that's going to change. No, I don't think that. 'Cause my last things last.
All right, now I'm going to talk about Darius Victor in the XFL. So I'm just
That actually is my last things last. The XFL will fail again, just like it did.
No.
Yes.
It
You're
better not,
watching
because
that.
if I give any more money to Muss for another alternate fantasy league and it goes defunct before the season ends, I'm going to lose my mind.
Dude, I'm sorry. The NFL runs a monopoly. You can't compete
But the
with them.
XFL.
It doesn't matter. Like,
Big hits sell, man.
No,
Big
that's
hits
not going to
sell.
sell because then we're going to – it's just the same discussion about CTE, but these guys are glorifying it. Like, no.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be good. And there's no kickoffs, which is better.
Okay, I actually have two last things last. A, the XFL will fail within 3 years. XFL will fail within 3 years. And two, I'm going to say it out loud. I don't care what Antonio Brown is up to. I somehow still think he plays on a team next year.
The XFL or NFL?
Yeah,
Maybe the XFL for sure.
No, you can't have a past criminal record.
That's the league where I would assume that's not a problem.
No, dude, you can't. Yeah, I know. I don't think you can have a felony on your record.
All
We
right.
want choir boys killing each other.
Well, no, that's the reason they wouldn't even let Manziel try out because it was a DUI or something he had. I don't think you can have a criminal record. I'm serious.
So you can play in the
like
CFL or NFL, but not the XFL.
But I do think Antonio Brown somehow is on a team next year.
I do not.
I don't.
He was literally in a suicide vest in court a week and a half ago.
What was that? I'm confused.
It was a suicide vest. It was so that he wouldn't hurt himself or anybody else.
Okay. See, I thought it was just a really bad fashion statement. I was like, what are you doing, dude?
Justin, I thought the same thing. I've never.
Did you? Okay, good.
I've never heard of that. Luckily, I've been arrested enough to know about these things, but no, man, I truly think because look, they already took him off. Literally 2 days later, they already took him off house arrest. He's allowed to travel within the U.S. Like any other normal person does what he did. They're coming through your front door and you're getting put in handcuffs. Him, take your time, turn yourself in when you want.
Yeah,
Like, there's still.
Well, I should probably clarify. It is not a suicide vest. It's an anti-suicide vest. Suicide vests are the ones you wear to blow everything up. An anti-suicide vest.
I'm like, wait,
so
so they just let that dude waltz into court with a bomb strapped to his chest? And they're just like, I mean, he's a celebrity. What are we supposed to just let him go?
No, man, I'm
Just
saying
fine.
he will be
Your
on a
wife.
team. He will be on a team next year.
All right, Justin.
Just to bring it back down for the end of this podcast. Tonight,
you have
Lakers
some
and
Towson news.
well, not
Dude,
that, not
you keep it
depressing
up.
enough.
I got plenty. We are killing it in the CAA this year. That's a conference in the Division One. They play teams that Duke and UNC and other teams play.
Don't
They
talk
do that.
about UNC, please. We're trash.
Oh, they're so bad.
They're really bad. Duke though,
Dude,
also struggling a bit.
UNC has like one of these years every 10 to 12 years where they're just full trash while they're reloading on players. And Duke never has those.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We
You guys
almost
are
beat
always
Florida.
just like good.
Huh?
I said we only lost by 6 to Florida. That's
We
something.
only lost to Wofford.
Oh.
We always have trouble against Waffies, though. The fighting Waffs or whatever they are.
They're terriers, aren't they?
Maybe.
The fighting
They're the Wops
Wops.
to me. But tonight's Lakers-Clippers game, big game, ended up being postponed by the NBA. I feel like the NBA probably should have postponed the games on Sunday. You had a lot of players literally like in full tears. But then kind of the point of my last things last year is what was cool to see was Damian Lillard go off for like 50 that night. Trae Young go off for like 45, 10, and 7. Like had one of the best
24
shooting
shots.
Yeah, on like 20-something shots. Like
I
had one
like
of the
the
best
24 and 8 violation tributes. That was cool.
So I thought that it was a weird kind of combo of when I first saw that the games were still going on, I was like, it's kind of I get what they were doing, though. You can't tell the fans that are probably on their way to games like, hey, by the turnaround. Like
They're already sad. Let them go to a ball game, you know?
So I get that. But I thought it was really cool the way that some of those stars responded by just coming out and playing like lights out basketball. So that's pretty cool. But I'm also glad that they postponed this one. I think that –
oh, yeah, dude, that's a tough one. That's a Lakers
I think being in LA, both LA teams.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's not happening tonight.
Well, my last things last is Justin. You'll love this one. It's
about Towson.
I can make it about Towson if you'd like.
Nope, I want the one I'll love.
Kevin, if we're not allowed to swear on this podcast, you're not allowed to talk about Towson.
It's a sports team. I'm going to talk about him.
Josh is offensive.
Stephen A. Smith, I'm on Joe Rogan's side. Stephen A. Smith should never, ever, ever talk about UFC. Ever.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes.
That man has no idea what he's talking about. He owes Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone an apology for just being like, these guys are, Cowboy wasn't prepared. We didn't learn anything about McGregor, blah, 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 blah. And then did you see the video of Stephen A. Smith sparring or practicing his punches? He had some guy with the hand pads. He punched up top and go, kush, and then down like below your crotch, just like, kush, 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 kush. And Joe Rogan's watching it like, what is he doing? Is this? What? Like, no, the guy has no idea what he's talking about. The only one on First Take that should talk only about boxing is Max Kellerman.
No,
none of them should talk about the UFC.
What is the UFC's problem with not getting fighters to talk about the UFC? Like,
retired guys. They have Chael Sonnen.
Yeah, but he's not. No, but I think he's tied to Bellator, so they can't have him that much. Like.
Well, with the new ESPN contract, I think they can.
But Michael Bisping is awesome to listen to talk about fights.
You need Cormier and Bisping back on there.
Those guys in there.
No, I don't. There's plenty of retired fighters that would be fantastic commentators. Like, they know what's going on. And Stephen A. Smith, I heard the best fight was put the other day. Like, Stephen A. Smith couldn't have said that about a more perfect guy, though. Like, he's like, can you imagine if he would have said that about either of the Diaz brothers? Like, they would have caught him in an elevator and be like, what are you going to say now? Like,
they would have legitimately hurt him.
Cowboy's like, man, just don't say that.
Dude, when he disrespected him so bad, when he was like, I got punched more in my day today than Connor did. It's like, dude, go away. Stop.
He broke his face. Like,
what are you gonna do? He was still like, he didn't even give up. He still was like going at him. Like, come on.
It happened.
But the thing is, the annoying thing about that, and what I always kind of go back to, is that First Take and Stephen A. Smith get crazy ratings, right?
Because it's just a loud guy.
But which means that a giant bulk of the population is just so lowest common denominator in like mental capacity that they think that is like entertainment, and they think that is like I mean, it
is entertainment.
No, but
it's not informative.
But you know what I'm saying? They look at it and they're like, oh, that's a good point. But like, it's not a good point, and you know nothing but the fact that you think that that's interesting. Like, it gets ratings. So I think that even the UFC, it's a fine balance between, do we want a guy that actually knows what he's talking about but might turn off some fans because they don't understand what he's saying? Or do we want some guy that just very generally is like, that guy bad, this guy good? that guy didn't. That
Well,
guy gave up, and they're like, he did give up because he lost in 40 seconds.
No, just it's all shock value, man. Like I guarantee there's some topics they come out and talk about that they completely agree on, but someone has to be controversial about what they're talking. And I was listening to Rogan's podcast today. I forget the fighter he was talking to.
Usman?
No.
Usman, right?
No, it was who did he talk to today?
Because I listened to that. Oh, Josh Thompson?
Maybe.
So I listened to, was it a white guy?
Yeah, he had a sleeve tattoo. I think it was.
I don't know who he's talking to.
Please hold.
Please hold. Was it today's podcast?
It said 37 minutes ago when I was listening to it.
He did 2 MMA podcasts.
Oh, then it's a new one.
Yeah.
Oh, Frankie Edgar. That's what I thought. He was talking to Frankie Edgar today.
Ooh, I'll listen to that one next.
What did Frankie Edgar say? I just drew a complete blank where I was going with this. He's like, you can't talk about fighters the same way you talk about a football player or a basketball player or a baseball player. But he goes, but at the same time, how many of those basketball players that get, destroyed by Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, you think want to say something but can't or don't? Right. Because then they're looked at as, being soft or like, why are you letting that bother you? Like fighters, you don't the mindset you're going into. You're going to war with someone inside a cage. Like, it's not like you miss a shot, you lose the game. Like, if you lose, you've taken a physical beating. Like, something has happened to you. You've broken something, you got choked out. Like,
you're losing consciousness in your underwear in a cage in front of millions of people. Yeah. It's literally like, what you're doing.
You can't talk the same. Like, when they say, Harden falls apart in the playoffs and he doesn't have the mental, fortitude to, push his team to the next level. You can't say that about a fighter. And you shouldn't be saying that about Harden either. That's not fair. But
no.
But yeah, I think that Joe Rogan was spot on with everything he said about Stephen A. I just think that some of these analysts need to stay in their lane a little bit more and talk about things that maybe they know a little bit more about.
And the fact that he challenged Joe Rogan to it's like, come on, debate me anywhere. You know where to find me, and did that stupid wink with both eyes because he can't wink with one for some reason.
Justin, I'm sensing you don't like Stephen A. Smith.
He hates Stephen A. Smith.
No, I think it's so. I don't think it's entertaining. And the fact that he did that, in knowing that Joe Rogan,
Anthony's favorite guy.
I'm sure it is. But knowing that Joe Rogan will literally never go on there because he thinks like normal humans that like have a capacity to think farther than he good, he bad. Like Joe Rogan actually thinks on a higher capacity. So I think that Joe Rogan literally, if he or Dana White saw that, he probably texted Joe Rogan and was like, hey, whatever you do, can we not like be a jerk to Stephen A. Smith on First Take, please? Like, we're trying to make a relationship with ESPN. Let's just.
Well, no, Joe Rogan talked about today. He was like, he's like, Stephen, I still love you as a person. He goes, I think you're a great commentator at other sports, but you're wrong. You owe Cowboy an apology. Period. End of story.
He did that today too.
Yeah, he said that today, and I was listening to Brandon Schaub. He's like, I don't think like Stephen A. wants to go on the podcast and talk, but
he can't.
Rogan can only talk about one thing when it comes to sports, and that's fighting. He literally he listened the other day. He goes, I'm not even sure the rules of basketball. Like I can't talk.
He doesn't know anything about any other sport. He doesn't know football rule. Like he literally doesn't know anything else.
He knows hunting.
He knows hunting. But yeah, so that would be like a 1-hour podcast of him and Stephen A. talking about MMA and Stephen A. talking in generalities and Joe getting annoyed and then ending it early.
Yeah. All right, guys. This was a good cast. Enjoying the Super Bowl coming up this weekend.
Go Big Red.
And we'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening.
Let's go, Woom Broom.